Welcome to today's webinar, 10 Tips for a Perfect Site Inspection. My name is Shimo with DMAI, that's Destination Marketing Association International. And DMAI is the trade association for the Convention and Visitor Bureaus, and empowerMINT.com is the web portal where you can find all the best CVBs in one location. CVBs are known to help you find the best fit for your meeting no matter what the size or where you're headed. And facilitating today's discussion is Terry Roberts, who manages the training and communications for DMAI's empowerMINT. So welcome, Terry.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone.
And we're also happy to have with us some experts. We have Alex Murphy and Amy Riley. And let me introduce you a little bit to each of them. Alex Murphy is the Director of Site Selection and Contract Negotiations with Meeting Expectations. She has worked with Meeting Expectations since March of 1999. Her main responsibilities include global hotel venue selection, contract negotiation, and housing management. And Alex has worked in the hospitality industry for over 20 years, and probably like many of you on the call today, possess a great understanding of the industry. But what Alex brings to us is she probably understands both sides of the industry, if you will, having worked in hotel management and contractual law. Alex grew up in Europe and has moved to the U.S. to complete her management training program with the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Atlanta. But prior to Meeting Expectations, as I mentioned, Alex has worked in guest services and sales for various European and American luxury hotels. And Alex, it's really great to have you join us today and share your knowledge with us.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
And now let me introduce Amy Riley. Amy Riley is the Senior Director of Convention Sales at Las Vegas Convention and Visitor Authority. And Amy is the oversees the convention sales team in Las Vegas as well as the Chicago region. And Amy's joined LVCVA in 2005 as a sales executive and moved into being the Director of Convention Center Sales and recently promoted to her current position just a couple of years ago. And prior to joining Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Amy worked at Caesars Palace in Mandalay Bay in the Director of Sales role. And Amy, thank you also for joining us today. You can say hi, Amy. Hopefully I'm not having any difficulty with our audio, but thank you all for those of you who are on the call with us. We're really happy for you to join us. And we're also grateful for e-meetings app. We have Tommy, who is also joining us and sponsored today's webinar, and he'll have an opportunity to introduce you to what ePro Meetings apps is all about. Now, throughout the webinar today, you're able to type in your questions, and if we have time at the end of our 30-minute webinar, we will address those questions. And certainly at the end, you'll also be given your CMP credit information, and Terry will tell you a little bit more about that. But let's go ahead and really start into this webinar, Terry, because I think planners are it's always so time-consuming, this whole site inspection process. So I think everyone on the call wants to make sure we get it right. So thank you, Terry.
Absolutely. And it really requires so much research and, just to determine which hotels might be space appropriate or finding an off-site venue or paring down options in a destination. So I think we're lucky to have 2 experts and hopefully 10 tips that will make the process a whole lot easier the next time you start out. So we'll start by offering up tip number 1, which, as Alex and I have discussed, is probably the most important one, to really make sure that you don't just start the process with a request for rates, dates, and space, but take the time up front to communicate all of your meeting goals and objectives. So, Alex, maybe you can elaborate on why you feel that this first step is so important to planners.
Yes, I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and I just feel like it is crucial to have a comprehensive RFP in place. I feel like it sets the tone for the hotels. It helps them understand the program from A to Z. Most of the time, I spend a couple hours actually putting an RFP together, and I go in great detail, not just like you said about rates, dates, and space, but I go into the group profile, talking about the group, talking about flexibilities with the dates and pattern. I also outline the concessions, a wish list, so hotels kind of know what we are looking for. With the meeting space, we're going into greater detail, making sure we have, setup time in there, what type of setup we are looking for. If there's any flexibility, I will outline that in the RFP as well. I have another topic, meal functions, where we talk exactly about what types of functions we're looking for, food and beverage minimum, historic numbers, just really trying to provide the hotels with as much information as possible. We also include the room block history in there. So if hotels have questions, why we put a certain room block together. So again, I feel like the RFP kind of sets the tone. We also create a response template, very detailed, where the hotels will have to incorporate their responses, and it helps me understand right away, will this be a good fit or not. So this has been really helpful. We've been doing this for a few years, and if there's any hot buttons as well for clients, some are flexible with space, some are not. I really try to outline that in the RFP.
Great. Amy, so let's say you have a great planner or a very organized, systematic planner like Alex, or perhaps you don't, and what can you as a destination expert really add to this process, and how do you help them disseminate this information? What role do you play that adds value? I think we may have lost Amy's audio, so I don't know if she can hear us, but we can't hear her. So until I get her back, I think I'll just comment from Amy's perspective that the CVB destination expert is able to really help the planner disseminate this information so you can make one call versus many. They can really have an in-depth discussion and help you match all of your RFP requirements to the hotels in their destination that are best suited to meet your needs. So if nothing else, they're helping you limit and narrow and provide that expert local advice to get you on the right course for your RFP. So Alex,
that's a good point. I just wanted to add to that in regards to sending out the RFP. We always send it out to national sales as well as the convention bureau. We feel like they're both experts in their field. National sales obviously very strongly with the hotels, the convention bureaus with their cities. So for us, it's a tremendous help to have both sources involved at once.
You mentioned that to me earlier, Alex, and I think that's such a great point because I know that many planners have expressed to me personally that sometimes they feel it's an either-or experience. You either work with your CVB or you work with your national sales office, but in fact the two and their own expertise can complement each other. So if we take tip number 2, Alex, it's my experience both on the hotel side and on the CVB side that the site inspections kind of seem to have this familiar flow. The planner, they meet the hotel staff in the lobby, they shake hands, they exchange business cards, and then they start walking and talking. And I find that, this maybe all too familiar format isn't always exactly the right setting for the stage. So what have you found that works for you, and what about taking time to actually sit down for a minute or two works for you?
Right. I have done various site inspections, obviously. I can tell you a bad site inspection is when you pretty much run as you go, and a lot of the salespeople, and I was in sales, 10 years ago as well, you're so excited about your product and hotel that you just want to run and talk about the hotel and show off every storage closet you have. I have really learned that it is wonderful if you can sit down for 5 or 10 minutes and you can have kind of a Q&A. Just a lot what I've learned, a lot of clients, they love to talk about their events. They love to talk about their hot buttons. So by sitting down and learning about these items and points, within 5 minutes, it may be very clear that we really just need to see the general session rooms and the breakout rooms. No need to see offices. No need to see 10 sleeping rooms. We can talk about that ahead of time, and it saves the client time, it saves the hotel's time, and it's a great opportunity for the hotel to, build a relationship and a rapport and gain a better understanding of this event. So I do think it is crucial to sit down for a few minutes and talk about the events. And for hotels, please ask questions. Clients, we love to talk about our meetings.
Amy, do we have you back on audio?
I hope so.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, lovely.
Hey, Amy, tell us then, and tip 2, how do you help facilitate this process and help set expectations if you take the time to sit down?
Well, as the CVB partner, we literally can help determine within the physical property of our hotels a nice meeting point that provides that opportunity. A lot of hotels, they kind of have their standard site tour pattern, and sometimes that does not give you the ability to sit down and ask the questions that you want to and address some issues that you need to make sure that you address. It can also be a creative selling point for a hotel. Let's say a group wants, they have quite a need for suites. How nice to sit in a suite, do that. You get to see the physical part of that hotel, but you also have a great place to gather. Maybe a private dining area of a restaurant if group dining is part of the overall meeting. We also can help keep, we're all on schedules. Some hotels are larger than others, but as the guide, we also can kind of keep the overall site tour on track. I think this meeting is very important too before you begin the site tour, because the hotel can give you a brief overview of what they're going to be seeing and in what order. And that just kind of helps you get a concept of what you're going to be seeing over the next hour or so.
And you can kind of play that bad cop role, too. I know it's often difficult for planners. They feel like they're kind of being treated in hospitality mode, and sometimes it's difficult to say, that's not important to me, or I really don't have time, and you can kind of facilitate that relationship, which
Correct.
Sort of leads us into the third tip, which is putting yourself in the attendee's shoes. Alex, during a site visit, how easy is it for you to determine if what's happening to you is kind of typically what will be extended to your meeting attendees? And how do you have any tricks of the trade for kind of sorting out, discerning what is VIP service versus, really getting a good feel for how the hotel will be able to service your actual meeting attendees?
Right. I look at both. I feel like, how is the hotel taking care of me and the client? Do they know who we are, what our group is about? How much research has the hotel done? How are we welcomed? So I'll look at that, and hopefully the hotel is shining during that site inspection. But a lot of times what I like to do is add a half day or just a couple of hours where I, can experience the hotel, spend the night, I order room service, I look at my clock, I get to taste the food, I walk in and out of the hotel, I observe how is the welcome, the bell staff, front desk? Are there lines? So I do take the time. I think it's really important to get a feel of, not just the VIP treatment, but also just my regular attendee experience. And it's greatly important. When I get back to the office, it's an experience which is kind of, will stay in my mind, obviously. And it also, service is very, very important. Obviously, every hotel can have beautiful curtains and look just amazing and renovated, but service, creating that memory does make a difference.
Amy, what about you before we move on? Anything to add there from the CVB perspective?
Yes, and to support that in our role, we see both. We see folks that want to experience, the VIP level, and then we see they just want to see the normal process that's happening. What we can offer and provide is, Las Vegas is a very unique destination. We have many large citywide trade shows. We have sporting events. For example, we have the rodeo coming in 2 weeks. So let's say, for example, we're in a hotel and it's crazy busy for some reason. We can provide that information. So this is a unique week in Las Vegas because we have this happening.
So this might not be typical of what your standard meetings experience would be.
Correct.
Help them gauge destination expectations.
Exactly. Even landing at the airport, certain events may impact traffic in the international terminal versus not. So we're able to explain the uniqueness within Las Vegas and each hotel independently as well.
Great. So, Alex, I know we talked about this a little bit in tip 1, but how important is making that list of priorities? Not just necessarily from the RFP perspective, but from specific to the site inspection. You've got a certain time constraint, so how important is it, and how do you handle making the list of priorities of what you want to see and then keeping it all sorted out?
Right. Well, it always depends on the size of the program, but definitely for the mid-sized, larger programs, I always have a checklist I take along because I know otherwise I will forget asking the questions. So when I walk through the hotels, we do the inspection where I can walk and ask and mark off my questions. I think for me, having a personal checklist is of great, it's a great benefit.
Great. And Amy, how do you then assist a planner with sort of organizing the day and organizing the lay of a destination as a CVB expert?
We can help make time management. Put the hotels in proper order as they are from a location within the destination. The benefit for us, our sales executive here, we work with the hotels, in advance. Contact, make sure you all are seeing what the client is seeing, what they need to see. Talk in advance with the planner, know what they need to see. Our hotels have so many features, and we often need to narrow those down just to make sure that checklist that Alex mentioned is being addressed. And we can help pull that together. And again, we know our hotels, so we can kind of help guide per hotel property, and then in turn communicate that to the hotel salesperson.
So we've talked a lot about control here, right? So some planners may feel, well, wow, if I've got so much control and I have such a short list, how do I leave room for, surprises, for the destination to surprise me, for the hotel to surprise me, for them to showcase their creativity? What would you have to say to that, Alex?
Well, I think a good site, what I expect is always obviously have sales staff there, a greeting of the general manager. For lunch, have the chef come out and say hello and talk about the food and the menus. But for something really creative, I think it is very meaningful if sales folks conduct their research, learn about the group, incorporate logos. So if you enter a general session room, that you may have a screen up with a logo, but also maybe even go a step above that. And I mean, for example, once we arrived really late. It was like I think we arrived around 10, 11 o'clock, checking the room, and they had a pillowcase. The hotels had the pillowcase personalized with the logo and a welcome in there and a sleep well. I thought that was just a really nice touch. Or another time, a hotel put a personal photo of my family next to the nightstand, which I was really surprised, and I thought that was just really unique and different. So being creative makes a difference.
Absolutely. And Amy, what about your relationship as facilitator, really, of the process between the planner and the and the hotels and the destination? How do you help them understand the planner and the meeting preferences and hot buttons?
You know, we've seen some of our hotel partners do some amazing things to tie into uniqueness and the fun surprises, as you mentioned. For example, we've had hotels do the pre-site tour meeting on the stage of one of our showrooms if the group is interested in doing a group show, even to the point of having one of the talent, a performer, coming out and meeting the group. Very unique, the things that we can do here.
But you're the facilitator as the destination expert of helping the hotels really understand what's crucial or what's critical to the planner.
Correct. So, and sometimes we know a little bit more. We know the client a little bit more in depth than possibly the hotel. So that's where we share that information and remind them. This is one of their hot buttons, food and beverage. When we do a site itinerary for the client, we put the logo there, just little things to help encourage our hotels to follow suit. Things even, we know planners are on the road for 2 weeks. One of our hotels, one of the site tours, they knew that planner had been away from their family for quite a while, and they somehow got a picture of that planner's family, their children, and had that picture framed and had that in their guest room. So it can be from a group standpoint, it can be a personal touch for the planner, just all kind of different things that we can help work with our hotels and say, wow, we know you just did that in your health club, your spa last week. Why don't we do that for this, for this client? If the client's active, it can be a room amenity. If the group all overall is into fitness, you can use your fitness club in just different things like that, just kind of fun things.
It's your ability to sort of, again, facilitate that relationship.
Absolutely.
So we got to move quickly through our tips here, but let's talk about the hard stuff up front, Alex, on tip number 6. How important is it to, in the phase of the site inspection, because a lot of people think that the hard stuff comes in the contractual process. How important is this to really address up front?
Right. I think it's very important. I would recommend for a good site is, again, to sit down for 5 minutes. It doesn't take long, and openly ask questions, because that's the hotel's time when they can handle objections or learn about, concerns so they can be addressed. Many items like attrition, food and beverage minimums, even rates, we pre-negotiate before the site, because if I find out that the hotel is not flexible with the food and beverage minimum, I may not even include that specific hotel in the site. So I do think the pre-negotiations before the site for some of the main areas like food and beverage, attrition, even rate to a certain extent is important. A lot of times when we sit down, we can talk about, we can focus on rate. I think rate is always a big topic, and we can stress that topic if it's a concern, but we can also talk about various things, about quality, renovations, changes, or space concerns, which, a lot of times on the website everything looks perfect, but once you walk the space, maybe the ceiling height is not high enough, or just the carpet doesn't look that glamorous, and hopefully that can be changed. But there's a lot of items I feel like which for some clients that really do matter, and it's very important to sit down and talk about these potential issues so they can be addressed.
And then, Amy, again, your role as facilitator allows you to help problem solve and be solution-oriented, when there are difficult things or objections or even maybe, whole new hotels that have to be, identified that might, meet the needs of the client.
Correct, and we become the moderator, per se. We're the middleman. We make sure that those hot buttons, the hard stuff, as we've referred to it as, we're the liaison. We make sure the hotel person is aware that these things should be discussed or should not be discussed. There's two types of site tours. Some are more, the details have been addressed up front and taken care of, and then that becomes a physical and relationship building site tour. And if not, then that's the site tour where you have to give yourself a little bit more time to hash out these details. And a side note, for those on the third-party planning side, if they're bringing their end-user customer in, sometimes they don't want those items discussed. Those are between the third-party planner and the hotel salesperson. So, and again, that's where we come in and just, be the reminder. We remind the meeting planner or the third party and the hotel partner. We have a lot of hotel salespeople in Las Vegas. Some may not be aware of this, so that's where we can again educate our hotel sales teams to pay attention and do what you all need them to do.
I think that would be true in any destination, and I think you bring up a really good point of not only understanding the importance of the meeting factors, but really understanding what the particular client sees important in this particular site inspection. So finishing up here with our last three, Alex, speak to what is really important and how you identify in the city outside the hotel facility, really, how did you get to know what only perhaps the locals know?
Right. I really feel like that's where the CVBs, like Las Vegas, is our right hand, because I can tell you I have done sites without convention bureaus where I had to go, from hotel to hotel with a taxi. I felt like I did not really know how to answer questions. Truthfully, the CVB is an extension of our team. That's how we feel like. They're the experts about their city, specifics, hotels, renovations. A lot of bureaus can also provide marketing assistance. They can help us with, what has changed, what is hot in the city. So again, the partnership with the convention bureaus is crucial, and we value it greatly. So thanks, Amy.
Oh, yes, agreed. There are so many things change daily with every destination, within the hotels, within the activities, all the different things to do. Distance, location, so important. And that's why we want to be the ambassador. We want to take you under our wing. We want to make it easy. We want to make it flow. We want to be able to, stay on schedule. We want to show you what applies to your group. We want to highlight what you're going to be able to utilize to make it unique here. And that even applies to repeat groups that come here every year. Again, there's always something new. There's something that's changed, and we can highlight that and make you aware of that. There's a lot to see, and your CVB partner can help narrow down what you need to see by interest. We also encourage a little free time, just so folks can get out on their own and just kind of walk around and explore things, and just make sure that they get to see everything that the destination has to offer that's going to apply.
Great. So, Alex, I'm going to ask you the next two bullets quickly to just tell me how you find asking for specific examples or diagrams is important to your site inspection, because that's tip 8.
Yes, that's correct. Obviously, a lot of times on a sales kit, everything looks beautiful and it's going to be a perfect fit. But when it is important to request a diagram, and a lot of times we do even request. We ask the hotel, can you please set up, the general session room, classroom, or rounds with, a certain size of stage. So the client, we can actually see it. Okay, yes, it's going to fit. So I do feel like it's very important.
And Amy, what about tip number 9? How do you help planners just be a little more green? There's so much paperwork that is innate in the site inspection process. How do you help your hotels dispense with some of that ahead of time and, make a little less for the planner to carry?
Right. I think we all agree that less is more. You're walking a lot. You're moving. You have things that you're carrying anyway. Most collateral and floor plans, as Alex mentioned, you can go to the hotel website or even our your CVB website, and that information is there. We're seeing a lot of iPads. Take notes, easy, convenient. It's a great way to take notes and or take pictures. And even note to self via telephone. That's in my opinion, that's certainly not an insult to your hotel salesperson or your CVB sales exec, your partner. Just comfortable shoes. We don't mind. Attire is the last thing that we're concerned about when we know that we are working hard and keeping you possibly for many hours on your feet.
Absolutely. Well, Alex, last but not least, how important is it for you to really sort of limit all of the after site inspection follow-up, or I shouldn't really say limit, but maybe more control by clearly communicating your timelines for decisions and follow-up during your site inspection?
Right. I do feel like it's very important. Again, most often when we sit down after the site, we do talk about timelines. We try to negotiate a little bit more time. That's always important to kind of regroup, evaluate, and get back to the hotels. We also really appreciate open communication from the hotel side because the economy is picking up again, and I feel like timelines need to be communicated from both sides. You never know. There may be another group right behind you, or an option status may be pushed. So just the open communication with timelines is very important.
And again, Amy and folks like her in destinations across the country can really help planners communicate and consolidate the timeline. So I know we said there were only 10, but hopefully we've made tip number 11 apparent throughout that CVB reps are there in destinations that you are considering to act as your extended staff. And with so many options, it's really difficult to narrow down which one. And we hope to invite you to connect with Amy and all of the Convention and Visitors Bureaus who are part of our empowerMINT.com web portal, and it is an opportunity for planners to be able to search multiple destinations and even submit only one RFP to several cities that they are interested in at the same time. And then they have an opportunity to come back and manage a profile and even check histories that have been reported by Convention and Visitors Bureaus in the cities where they have held meetings. So this brings us to a conclusion of our webinar, and we'll have some time hopefully for just a few. I know we've run a few minutes over, but we did start just a little bit late. But you will be able to receive CMP credit. You'll get a half-hour clock hour for the domain site management here. And in about 1 week, you will be sent an email, and it will provide you a link to print proof of your participation, and then you'll simply list this on your course year-end details. So don't be concerned if you don't get it right away, because we send it to you also with a link of the recording if you'd like to pass it on to anyone on your staff or another planning peer if you found today helpful. So Shimo, I think that brings us to the end, and I'd certainly like to have the opportunity to have Tommy say hello to the group and maybe talk a little bit about ePro Meetings apps.
Yes,
Well, thank you
and
very
after
much for
Tommy
the
gets
opportunity.
done, go ahead, Tommy.
No, that's okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, we have a couple of questions. I just wanted to mention to the group that we will address a couple of those questions with the audience right after Tommy gives a little blurb on ePro Meetings app.
Well, I'll make it short and sweet because I know everybody wants to get to the questions. ePro is proud to be a sponsor, and we are an industry leader in meeting apps, developing apps only for meetings and events. Unlike some of the other folks out there, we do only meeting and events apps. We weren't making Angry Birds knockoffs yesterday. Our entire staff has roots in the meetings and events industry. I myself have a CMP certification and an audiovisual background, so when you say things like attrition, I don't look at you cross-eyed. Our service is truly hospitality grade, so you're not talking to an introverted techie. Obviously, I have a little bit of a personality. Our apps are simple, I can't say that twice, super simple to use. If you can click on a hyperlink and use an Excel spreadsheet, congratulations, you can do anything within our app. It is a custom native cross-platform, not dependent on the internet, so you never have a problem if you're in a bad cell service area with our app for your attendees. We also come with a ton of extra easy-to-use metrics and marketing materials, so anything that planners would see as homework or extra tasks that would need to be had, we try to take care of all that with pre-written Facebook posts and tweets for your social media, in addition to press releases and splash pages, easy stuff for your attendees to download. And just know that when you do go with ePro Direct, you have a partner that understands what's important to planners and attendees. I'd like to appreciate everybody's time today for listening to my spiel and, of course, for attending. And I think I'll get with you on getting some CMP credit myself for the for the upcoming recertification. And if you do have a new need for an app with your group, please, of course, keep us in mind. Thank you.
And I can attest that the app DMAI has actually, for our annual convention, used the Meetings app with ePro Direct, and it was fabulous, so I can attest to that. Now, Terry, we did have a couple of questions that I'd like to just ask, and one of them, Alex, you mentioned earlier on that you have this checklist that you refer to. Where did you get this checklist, and is it available to share to your fellow planners?
I created it over the years, and I'd be happy to share it with you guys.
That'd be great, because I think that all are looking for just ways not to reinvent the wheel, and we'll be able to share that with you as a follow-up to this webinar. So thank you for that, Alex.
You're welcome.
And also, I think that there are many planners on the call that really wanted to kind of get an understanding of, does everything need to be in writing and in a contract? There have experiences of, signage locations are, while they're on the site inspection, that the sales professional from the hotel has said, yes, that won't be a problem, and have made promises sort of along the way. And then with staff changes at the hotel, they find that, sorry, you can't have that anymore. Do you have a perspective of, while you're on a site and commitments get made, how to better handle that?
I guess I would address it in two ways. One, before the site, I have each hotel complete we have a response template. So we know exactly what space we're going to look at, what pattern, what room type. Also before the site, I reconfirm that everything is correct and that the hotel will have to hold the date space for us. Any additional conversations on site, I prefer personally to have them reconfirmed via email, so have it in writing, because it's always good to have a backup. And just like you said, staff is changing, thing. So it is very helpful. I would highly recommend it just to have, a lot of the important items reconfirmed in writing.
Yes, I would agree with you because, you know, there's just a lot going on in our world, right? So having those things in writing, I think, is good advice. One other question is coming from one of our convention and visitors, Bill, and she asks, would you be comfortable, Alex, in completing a getting to know you and your likes questionnaire prior to a site inspection so that that inspection could maybe get personalized a little? Would you be opposed to completing questionnaires such as that?
No, I think that's a terrific idea. It just gets a little bit more personal that way. We a lot of times actually forward group profiles from clients to the Convention Bureau. It's nothing personal information, just basic facts. And yes, we can maybe include hobbies and a couple things like that. But I do think it adds a nice touch to the site. It helps sometimes with conversation pieces, makes it a little bit more personal. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Thank you, Alex. And then, Amy, one last question for you. I think one of our planners was listening to the creativity that some of the hotels have shown during site inspections. And do we find that the hotels show the same sort of creativity for small or mid-sized groups as well? What has been your experience on that?
I believe so. I believe so. It depends on the property and what the again, what the amenities that they have and the abilities that they have to do so. Yeah, I would say absolutely.
And one of the things that I was kind of thinking along this lines is it certainly has to do with upfront communication, like you mentioned in our webinar earlier. But I also think that it has a lot to do with the value of your meeting. And certainly the more desirable your meeting, the more hotels and venues are in a position to get a lot more creative. So I think communication and then planners really understanding the value of your meeting is kind of critical to that.
And again, making your CVB partner aware of that. I mean, every piece of business that comes to our destination is important. And just making sure your partner, is aware, that your CVB partner is aware of that, whether it's small or large or medium.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. And so, Terry, I think that is most of the questions that we really have time for today, and we've really had a great turnout for today's webinar. Again, you will be receiving an email follow-up with the slides of this as well as a link for the webinar replay should you want to share it with